In 1979, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, the poverty rate in the United States was 12.4%. Over time, extensive legislation passed and charitable donations were given in order to lower that poverty rate. As of 2017, it had been lowered to 12.3%. Now, that proposes a question. Obviously, there hasn't been much change, but why? Why hasn't there been much change? Well, essentially, the economic situation of the poor was left for them to handle on their own, and they continued to do it. The rich provided no help to the poor, and neither did the government. The government provided welfare, but that essentially sustained the poor in their existing economic class, i.e. poverty. Thus, the poor continued to exist in their own lower economic situation.
The rich tend to only do things that will benefit themselves and benefit their own lifestyle rather than helping those who are less fortunate than them. This can be proven in the Grapes of Wrath in chapter 7, page 83, which says, "In vacant lots, the used car yards, the wreckers' yards, the garages with blazoned signs, used cars, good used cars, cheap transportation, 3 trailers." In this quote, it shows how the car salesmen try to sell these bad cars to the citizens because they know they're in need of transportation to leave and get to places like California. The salesmen sell these citizens these cars because they just want to make money off of them and they just want people to buy their product. Now for the poor, they tend to help each other because they understand each other's situation and basically all have the same lifestyle. This can be seen in the Grapes of Wrath in chapter 20, page 344, which says, "Ma slipped the twigs under the pot and the flame made a sputtering sound. Didn't you have no breakfast? No, ma'am. There ain't no work here about. Pa's trying to sell some stuff so we can get gas and get along." Ma looked up. "Didn't none of these here have no breakfast?" Ma said. "You shush now, both of you, or you both go get away." Although Ma did not have enough food to provide for themselves, they still gave food to the hungry children.
Taken as a whole, the wealthy spend a very small amount of money on helping the poor. Globally, private wealthy citizens spend about 6% of their wealth on helping the poor, and this may seem like a very large amount. Truly it is. However, in comparison to the rest of their wealth, this is a very small quantity. Disregarding the amount of money which these private wealthy citizens spend on their businesses, which of course would constitute the large majority of their wealth, they spend about 46% on personal spending, with 6% of this going to helping the poor. Now, these extra 40% are then essentially spent on personal goods and personal services. 18% of these personal services include buying jewelry. 18% of 40% is 7.2%. Thus, the rich spend more on average buying jewelry than helping the poor. Thus, therefore, the rich care more about helping themselves with their accessories than helping the poor.
The most surprising facts of Charity America today is that those with the least amount to give donate the most. In 2011, the wealthiest Americans donated about 1.2% of their income to charity. Americans at the base of the income pyramid donate about 3.2% of their income to charity. The relative generosity of lower income Americans is accentuated by the fact that, unlike most middle class and wealthy donors, most cannot take advantage of the empathy and compassion are the key ingredients in the generosity of the poor. Another problem in the stratification of the rich and the poor is that tax breaks in the 5 million households in America making more than $200,000 a year get a lot more housing aid than the 20 million households living on less than $20,000 a year. The rich do not understand the point of extending unemployment insurance and easily talk themselves into believing that such a helping hand might make workers lazy. Meanwhile, the poor are getting increasingly bitter about tax cuts that the rich keep insisting will result in trickle-down benefits for all.
Although the rich do not assist those who are in need, poor people will always tend to help other poor people despite lack of personal wealth because they understand the struggles of poverty.
This can be proven in chapter 22, page 401, when Timothy and Wilkie Wallace explain to Tom that there's the place off to the right of there, nice job too, getting 30 cents an hour, nice friendly fellow to work for. Although Timothy and Wilkie Wallace don't have much wealth, they still decided to help Tom out. This demonstrates how the poor assist the poor, even though their situation or occupation may be compromised. After attempting to talk to the boss about raising Tom, he explained that their pay had to be lowered to 25 cents an hour instead of 30. These men risked lowering their own payment to help someone out who was in need. The poor tend to assist the poor because they are aware of the impediment associated with making enough to survive. There are also more such as private citizens who accommodate to those who are poor even more than the government does. Private citizens contribute greater assistance to others than the government does, which is exhibited in chapter 20, page 359, when Floyd Knowles tells Tom, "Twice and now I fell for that. Maybe he needs 1,000 men, he'll get 5,000 there, and he'll pay 15 cents an hour. And you'll be hungry. If he wants to hire men, let him hire them, write it out, and say what he's going to pay. Ask to see his license. He ain't allowed to contract men without a license." Floyd Knowles explains to Tom the process he should go through when an officer or someone involved with the government is attempting to recruit him for a job. Some officers take advantage of people's low living standards and financial situations in order to trick them into working a job that doesn't pay much or enough to provide for themselves or their family. Private citizens help out others because they understand the struggles of working and providing for their family but not being able to make enough to put food on their plate every night.
The portion of people in the United States that lives below the poverty line is not decreasing. The rising population of the United States means that this number will only increase. Something drastic needs to change. The rich continually spend on personal recreation with money that could be used to buy the poor food. The government continually funds large-scale projects which are publicly hated by a wide variety of people with money that could be used to buy the poor homes. The poor continually help the poor. We know this. Something else needs to change. The rich need to help the poor. The government needs to help the poor. Everyone needs to help the poor in order for change to happen. Thank you.